Real quick before we begin, I activated channel memberships, so if you want early access to my videos as well as shoutouts, there's more information at the end and in the description. Enjoy the video. About a year ago, I had made a video on the sexualization of female characters in games, and ever since that day, I couldn't shake the thought that I had more to say on that subject. Now, I can't in good conscience recommend that video to anybody since the audio quality makes me physically cringe, but I can bring back another adjacent topic of discussion that I find overall quite interesting. The spark that inspired me to create this video was as follows. Whenever I'm not playing either Night Rain or the most evil game ever made, I spend my time on gachas. The one I've been enjoying the most as of late is none other than Zenless Zone Zero, which incidentally was the topic of my previous video. But you see, there was a bit of an occurrence in that game that rubbed me the wrong way. As of the writing of this video, we are wrapping up version 2.2. In the next version, we will see the introduction of two new characters, Lucia and Yidari, as well as the reruns of Jufufu and Vivian. All of these are S-rank characters, the highest rarity of character in the game, and overall the ones people actually want to pull. Now, here's the thing. I lied. There aren't two new characters, there are three of them. Along with the two ladies, there's also Komano Manato, this buff and gruff man with a heart of gold whom I couldn't help but feel quite invested in as I played the story. I was really looking forward to when he'd become a playable character, but when the news of his release came out, he was announced as an A rank, the lower, overall weaker rarity of character that you'll most likely not be looking forward to pulling. Mind you that this is the first male character they'll be releasing in the game after releasing 6 female S-ranks back to back. And well, this got me thinking about the quiet but obvious aspect that permeates all of gacha gaming. That being the ratio of male to female characters. I am going to do a cold read and assume that you are a gacha player since, well, you clicked on this video and my channel touches on the topic semi-frequently. Pick the gacha game you like the most and tell me, are there more male characters or more female characters? You don't have to answer, I know it's female, unless you play Love and Deep Space, in which case, congrats, you're a point outside the curve, but that doesn't invalidate the premise of this video. The stuff that I'll be saying applies to you as well. Seeing this pattern, as well as what happened to Manato, I thought that there could be a tendency in gacha games to make male characters of a lower rarity, and so I decided to gather a bit of data from the gachas I actively play. And seeing it all plotted in graphs is rather fascinating. Let me show you by starting with Genshin. There is a total of 69 women, 38 of whom are 5 stars, and 35 men, 19 of whom are 5 stars. Overall, 54.3% of males are 5 stars, while 55.1% of females are 5 stars. Next up we have Star Rail, with 48 females, 32 of whom are 5 stars, and 25 males, 18 of whom are 5 stars. Here it's quite interesting because this game has the greatest ratio of 5 stars to 4 stars among the men, with 72% of them being 5 stars. Curiously, this proportion is higher than that of the females, who only have 2/3 of their characters being 5 stars. Next we have Wuthering Waves, a game that I just recently started to play frequently. There are 28 females, 20 of whom are 5 stars, and 8 males, 5 of whom are 5 stars. So essentially, 62.5% of the men are 5 stars, while 71.4% of the women are 5 stars. So far, this one has the greatest difference in proportion between the genders, but as we'll see, WoWA isn't the greatest offender of this. Zenless Zone Zero has the most egregious example of them all. There are 29 women, 22 of whom are S-rank, and 9 men, 4 of whom are S-rank. Here you can very clearly see that they tend to make male characters A-ranks more often than S-ranks, with currently 44.4% of the males being S-rank and 75.8% of the females being S-rank. Just a little tangent, my sister pointed out something about Zenless Zone Zero I thought was really funny. Basically, all the girls fall into 2 categories, Lara Croft and Maid. Caesar, Lara Croft. Alice, Maid. Yishuan, Lara Croft. Vivian, Maid. Despite looking like a maid, Elenjo is actually a Lara Croft. Have fun sleeping on that one. Lastly, I also did Arknights, and in case you're wondering, I got all the data by manually inputting every single character's gender and rarity for all the games into a bunch of Excel spreadsheets. Please like the video. Arknights is different because it has a bunch of different rarities, but realistically the ones that really matter are 4, 5 and 6 stars, since they are the ones that are constantly getting new characters. Well, I did an additional graph for this one. This one on the left shows the rarity count for each gender, and this one on the right shows something that I'm calling absolute rarity between genders. Absolute rarity basically just divides the rarities between 6 stars and the rest, because realistically when you go through a banner, you'll most likely be gunning for the 6 star. Anyway, in both cases, we can very unsurprisingly see that there are more females than males, but the proportions of rarity between each gender are roughly equal. There are 79 men, 26 of whom are 6 stars, and 271 women, 91 of whom are 6 stars. Out of the 4 stars, roughly 19.6% are males and 80.4% are females. Out of the 5 stars, 23.7% are male and 76.3% are female, and out of the 6 stars, 23.3% are male and 77.7% are female. The ratios, once again, are roughly equal, but we can see that women outnumber men in Arknights in a ratio of over 3 to 1. If you thought this was insane, wait till you hear about Nikkei. Overall, here are the percentages of rarities between each gender for each game. And I gotta say that after putting all this data into this final table, I am quite surprised. Most of the table is self-explanatory, but this cell labeled High Rarity Dominance tells whether the game has a greater percentage of male or female characters being high rarity. Even though indeed there is a tendency to make male characters be of a lower rarity, it is only really noticeable in Zenless Zone Zero. Even though all games except for Star Rail tend to have a higher proportional amount of low rarity males, the results are close enough that it's okay to call them balanced, as the release of like 2 or 3 new characters would be enough to shift the balance. Except for Arknights, which might need a little more on account of just how many operators the game has. So indeed there appears to be a bias towards making male characters of a lower rarity, but it's nowhere near as extreme as I thought it was going to be. But even after learning all of this and coming to this conclusion myself, I am still pissy about Manato. This beautiful hunk of a man whom we've been introduced to back in version 2.0 is an A rank. Meanwhile, we're getting 2 new female S rank characters who didn't as much as appear on the trailer for the 2.0 update. They have no prior lore or even as much as a mention in the story. Hoyo quite literally pulled them out of their ass and gave Lucia Yishuan's fit. You think you're slick, I know what you're doing. As of the writing of this video, they do not exist in the canon of Zenless Zone Zero. You know who does? Manato, and he deserved better. That's not to say they shouldn't be releasing A ranks, but said A ranks should be the ones they're pulling out of their ass instead of 2 new S ranks. Okay, but here's the fundamental question. Does any of this really matter? No, nothing matters. But in the context of gacha gaming and marketing as a whole, the answer naturally goes a lot deeper than that. It doesn't take a genius to infer why the majority of gacha game characters are women. The majority of people who play video games, and gacha games specifically, are men. The majority of men are heterosexual. Therefore, in a game where you want to sell characters, you will make more money if you primarily advertise female characters. This isn't a secret. You can see that the banners containing male characters will in general sell less than the one containing female characters, whereas in a game where you don't sell characters, it doesn't actually matter whether the characters are male or female, as that aspect doesn't factor into the marketing, and consequently the roster will have a much more even distribution. Okay, gacha games are about selling characters. No shit, Sherlock. Any other brilliant insights you'd like to share with the class? Well, I am glad you asked, hypothetical viewer, as the more I thought about the subject, the more I noticed countless aspects and design choices of these games that are tailor-made to make you pull out your credit card. Let's begin with something simple and obvious. Think of the last time you were in a public space you frequent. Maybe it's your work, your school, your college, a coffee shop, whatever. Think of the people with whom you normally see and interact with. I am going to make the assumption that they are relatively varied. There's tall people, short people, skinny, overweight, pretty, ugly, diverse ethnicities, sexual orientations, and gender identities. The works. Now, I'd like you to pick your favorite gacha game character and let me know if my code read is right. If they are male, they will probably be tall, have a lean build, and they may or may not be packing a bit of muscle. And if they're female, they will probably be skinny, and they might be, well endowed. I am going to assume that the color of their skin is white and that they are, without a shadow of a doubt, conventionally attractive. To the people who choose someone like Jensen, congratulations, you won my little mind game. Don't feel bad if my assumptions are correct. I was deliberately casting a wide net, the same wide net that the developers of these games try to cast. Literally, all my favorite characters from each gacha I play fall into these buckets. Of course they are conventionally attractive, because realistically, and I want you to answer this honestly, would you want to play as an ugly character? Actually, better yet, would you want to spend your hard-earned gacha currency on an ugly character? No, I think, unless they're meta, but maybe even so, that's not enough for me. I'm the type of person who won't watch an anime if I don't fuck with the art style or the appearance of the main characters, even if it is really good. Does that make me superficial? Yes, but it's true, and I'm willing to assume that you probably do this as well to an extent, and believe me when I tell you that there's nothing wrong with it. Not even getting into personality and all that jazz, the characters you like were designed by a professional team of artists, animators, and 3D modelers to look extremely appealing so that they can sell that character to you. Do you see this woman? This is Ayuno from Wuthering Waves, and honest to God, I wanna fuck this character. I'm sorry, it's true, she looked really attractive, and it has nothing to do with her alt animation, I promise. I'd like to take a moment to say hello to my mother and my sister who watch all of my videos even when I told them not to. Thank you for the support, you both, I really appreciate it. But as I was saying, I got Ayuno because I thought she was pretty and hot. I didn't even play Wuthering Waves regularly before she released. My characters are all level 40 and I didn't even unlock Rina Sita yet. I started playing now because I wanted to have her, and the devs managed to craft a character so appealing to me that they managed to make me break out my wallet for a game that I didn't give a shit about beforehand. And this isn't the first time this has happened to me. I got into Arknight because I saw a fan art of Lapland and I wanted to know not only where she was from, but also whether I could have her as a playable character. Granted, I didn't pull out the credit card for her specifically, but through the use of that appealing character, Hypergriff, the developers of Arknights, managed to get themselves a loyal player who would not only reach max level on their game, but also would end up spending a non-negligible amount of money over the 5 years that I've played this game for. Think about this, by designing an appealing character, they managed to get themselves a new potential customer and not even through direct marketing. Imagine how often this happens. Character design is a really powerful asset, and creating a character that is either hot or cute or cool or whatever is such a high priority that it sometimes takes precedence over making sense. For example, this is Yanagi. She is an intelligence officer at HANDS Section 6, a task force made for dealing and venturing into hollows. It is quite literally her job to fight monsters. So riddle me this. Why in the hot, crispy, Kentucky Fried fuck is she wearing high heels? The same criticism goes to her boss, or better yet, to an actual fucking soldier in the army. As the girlies in the audience may know, wearing heels is a fucking nightmare, yet in Fictionland, every other female character who is frequently involved in combat situations is wearing them. Something artistic license, who gives a shit. It only proves how skilled those characters are in combat since they can kick ass and wear heels at the same time. Okay, perfectly valid, but the point I'm trying to make here is that aesthetic is the main driving force here, not logical cohesion. If we were striving for realism, a female soldier would look like this. In a fantasy setting, a female fighter would look like this. Don't get me wrong, I think plate armor looks delightful, but neither I nor the majority of the population can beat off to someone wearing it. Henceforth, no characters meant to be sold shall be designed wearing one, but it's okay to have NPCs wearing them since those are not for sale. Another thing that ties into appearance, some gachas will have a banner not only of their character, but also of a complementary piece of equipment that was tailor-made for said character, both in the benefits that it brings as well as its design. Of course, you can use some other equipment, but it won't work quite as well and it most likely won't fit the character's aesthetic. The example I often go to is Arlecchino from Genshin, whose signature weapon has a unique effect that applies only to her and that turns her spear into a scythe. Sure, you can use other spears on her, but the effect is so ugly it's borderline cognito-hazardous. The devs won. They made me spend my primos on something I didn't need because it looked cool, and as a consequence I got 2 copies of a weapon for a character that I didn't have nor am I interested in getting. The weapon banner is a scam and I will die on that hill. And before you ask, yes, I still play Genshin, no, I am not proud of it, yes, I am a hypocrite, and yes, it still makes me want to kill myself, but I must stay strong for my wife Columbina. Once I get her, I will surely 100% completely quit for real this time, but for now, she's got me in a chokehold. Just kidding, she doesn't, but god, I wish she did. As you may have already guessed, drawing your attention to a character goes beyond just making them look pretty. Naturally, each and every single one of them is also carefully designed to have a personality that is either appealing, interesting, or both. For real, I have caught myself gushing at a character more than once when playing these games, and they got that reaction out of me because along with the artists, animators, and modelers, there is also a team of professional writers whose job is to fine-tune the personality of each character to make them appealing to the player. Not only that, but they will often also go a step beyond and make some of the playable characters have a vague crush on the often player insert protagonist. Look, off the top of my head, there's a Keqing, Ayaka, Nilo, Farina, Citlali, Yang Yang, Firefly, Castoris, Miyabi, Alice, and Vivian, whose crush is anything but subtle. They do this not only because it's nice to know that there's someone pretty crushing on you, but also because in general people are susceptible to something called reciprocal attraction, which is a phenomenon where if someone is shown to have feelings for you, you are more likely to end up having feelings for them. But it goes beyond that. Ever notice how the relationship status of all playable characters is never or almost never disclosed? This is very much on purpose. It is in the devs' interest to make their characters vaguely single so that it increases the chances that people will be attracted to them and not feel bad while doing so. I think the only playable characters I know of in the 5 games I've mentioned who are confirmed to have been in at least one relationship before are Vupisfoglia from Arknights, who is Suzerain's mom, and Alice from Genshin, who is Klee's mom. And brother, I hope to God that Hoyo won't pull some bullshit out of their ass to say that Klee was created by magic, just so that it can be implied that Alice is single and potentially still a virgin, because after all, it is totally believable that this supermodel, who is a confirmed mom and at least 500 years old, has never had sex in her life. But yeah, women sure do sell well, and an interesting consequence of this is that in pretty much all these games where you have an abundance of female characters, you will inevitably find a lot of women taking empowering roles. Naturally, when you're writing a story, there will be characters who will need to fit within a leadership role, and when the majority of said characters are female, of course there are bound to be a lot of women in positions of power. This is interesting to see because it is a sort of empowerment that is fundamentally born from an objectification. The devs need to sell the audience female characters. Sometimes that character is a goddess, or a badass warrior, or a genius. And it is refreshing to see these characters act femininely and be in positions of power because it goes to show that you don't have to be macho to take a leadership role. But as with many other aspects, this is born not from a genuine attempt to write powerful and feminine female characters, but because women who present themselves as more feminine will generally sell better than those who present themselves as more masculine. Just to prove this point, I'd like you to think of 5 playable female gacha characters who lean more towards the masculine side. The ones I can think of are Arlecchino from Genshin, and in Arknights there's Scavenger, Dagonbreacher, and Asbestos. I can't really think of a 5th, and honestly, I don't really think those 4 are good fits at all. And before we wrap this video up, let me just briefly mention a very ugly facet of gacha gaming that I feel needs to be acknowledged. Dear viewer, after all the information I've presented to you about how every aspect of a character is carefully curated to make them as alluring as possible to their target audience, I would like to pose you a simple question. Why, in the name of fuck, do these games have children as playable characters? Moreover, why are all these characters little girls specifically? After all we've looked through, I believe the answer should be crystal clear. There is a statistically significant portion of the audience that finds little girl characters alluring. I know it's not because they're cute, you and I know very well why they like those characters. And in case you thought this might be just an accident, do you ever wonder why there are no little boys in all of these games as character rosters? Well, I believe it's because the market for the people who are into children, who are either heterosexual women or queer men, is too small to justify creating a whole-ass character who, realistically speaking, wouldn't sell well to the rest of the player base. But to be clear, pulling or using a lolly character neither means that you are a pedophile nor does it mean that you condone pedophilia. My problem is with the people who are the target audience for those characters, as well as the companies that choose to capitalize on something so fundamentally immoral. I got Nahida, I think, on her second banner because she was meta, and that's a decision that I have since come to regret. Nowadays, after some reflection, I find the fact that these characters are products to be profoundly perturbing. I don't care that Verena is really good. I don't care that she's ranked SS. I play adult characters, and if a lolly is meta, I don't use her. I would like you to take a moment to really think about this. You'll see these lolly characters taking roles in positions that it makes no sense for a child to be in. Aino is a genius engineer. What is the harm of bumping her age up by at least a decade instead of making her like 9? The same goes for the literal goddess of knowledge, Nahida. She adheres to that trope of being a lolly, but it's okay bro because she's actually 500 years old. No, it isn't okay. If it looks like a child and acts like a child, it is a child. This brings into question the ethics of playing a game that, technically in the most literal sense of the word, objectifies children, and furthermore, whether it is wrong of the player to play and endorse such a game. While this question makes me very uncomfortable, I ultimately think that the player is utterly blameless. Like, you shouldn't feel bad for using child characters because there are no actual children coming to harm, it's just a fucked up business strategy. The wrong is in the company that thinks selling fictional children is an ethical marketing strategy. Sure, by playing their game you are giving them what they want, but I'd like to believe that you can like the art without liking the artist. Playing these games doesn't make you a bad person, both because they and you are so much more than that, but still I think that this aspect is something that people should bear in mind. I apologize for the rant, it's just that this has been in my mind for such a long time and I just had to get it out there. Back to the topic at hand. Is all of this marketability and fine-tuning of the characters actually a bad thing? Well, it depends. If you're just now becoming aware of the intrinsic objectification that permeates all of gacha gaming, including Love and Deep Space, you may never be able to look at these games the same way again. But there are other people like me who will look at it and say, yeah, it kinda sucks that so many aspects of these vibrant characters were spawned from cold, deliberate decisions in the name of profit. But honestly, I don't really give a shit, because these characters and games are still fun and meaningful to me. For starters, these games are free, you don't actually have to spend a single penny on them if you don't want to. Moreover, even if the characters are made to make money, it's not like there isn't a genuine passion behind them. As I mentioned before in this channel, Farina is my favorite fictional character ever precisely because of how well written she is, and it's not like she's an outlier. The main thing that games are supposed to be is fun. That's how, they ensure that the players keep playing it. And guess what? All these games that I've mentioned here, as well as many other gachas that use this business model, are only being played in the first place because they are fun, because their story is intriguing, or their gameplay is addictive, or whatever other reason you can think of. While I would appreciate there being a more even split between men and women and no lollies among the playable roster, fundamentally I'm still having fun with these games regardless, and that's what should matter. It is whether or not you are having fun. If I find a character appealing, I will go get it, and I won't complain about being sold a product because not only did I get what I wanted, I actively know what I was getting into when I decided to play a game like this. And the same goes to you. Thank you for watching. Hey, hello again. I just wanted to let you guys know that I've turned on memberships on this channel, and that by subscribing to it and having your YouTube account linked to your Discord, if you join my server, you can get early access to all of my videos, as well as sneak peeks of what I'll be working on next. Does that mean I'll become a consistent poster? No, but it does mean that you will be giving me a little bit of financial support, and I would really appreciate you for doing that. If you don't, that is 100% okay, just being here is enough. That's gonna be it for me. Thank you for watching.